Yo guys, what is up and welcome back to another video here today and my third video of the day regarding the F1 2020 news. If you haven't seen any of the two previous videos guys, they will both be linked in the top right hand corner of the screen, so go check them out. The first one is just regarding the general breaking news and the new features this game is going to have. Video number 2 is talking about the new classic cars and the Schumacher edition, which is of course very important to me as Michael is my favourite driver of all time. And this video is going to be talking about the actual 2020 car liveries. So before we jump into it, let's say a few things. These renders are all on the same car model, which I believe is the Formula 1 car, the FOM car, the multiplayer car, which we got last year. So they're all on the exact same chassis. So don't look into the aerodynamics, don't look into the nose. It's the same for every car. Those will get updated like last year on a day one patch, or when the game releases, you should have the actual pre-season chassis of the car. But for now and for the upcoming trailers, the car you're going to be seeing is going to be on the FOM chassis, and every single car is going to be the same in terms of the shape. The only thing that's going to change is the livery paint. Now we've got that out of the way, we can now move into each respective car. Number 1, we have Scuderia Alfa Romeo, and it's looking fantastic. Again, they've done a good job. All the details are there. All the good sponsors are on it straight off the bat. We've got the chrome metallic kind of scarlet red, which looks really, really nice. F1 do a good job of getting the colors right, especially with the metallic chrome effect kind of thing. And of course, the new sponsors on there, courtesy of Robert Kubica, of course, their test driver. And now we move on to the front view, and again, you're going to see the nose and the front wing is going to look the same on all cars because, like I mentioned, it's the FOM car. But again, it gives you an idea of how things are going to look, and still, even with this model of the car, it looks insane. We then move on to car number 2, and that is Scuderia Alphatauri, the brand new team, of course, rebranded from Toro Rosso, and everyone's wanting to see how this is going to look. Again, this car, of course, also on the FOM chassis, and it's got the new paint scheme with the black and very dark slash almost greyish blue, and the new Alphatauri sponsorship, a car that of course is going to be very popular I think with a lot of people, and all the right sponsors in the right places, including of course the new Honda logo on the engine there at the bottom of the side pod. And then of course from the front view, exact same chassis, but still we get an idea of how things are going to look from the front end of the car, and of course all the new sponsoring and everything looking as it should do. We then move on to the beautiful Ferrari once again. Of course we're going to clarify this, so there is no mission Renault. Most of you should know this by now, but if you don't know, F1 is a game that's rated PEGI 3, which means it's suitable for people as far as 3 years old. Therefore, of course, because tobacco is 18 plus, they can't have it on the car. There's too many restrictions and too many issues. Even still, without the mission window, the car still looks great, and I'm sure the modders could potentially find a way to get it onto the car, maybe on PC anyway. But the car looking really, really nice and really, really clean. We then move on to the front view, and again, distinct lack of mission window, but still good. You can't go wrong with Ferrari red, and it's a simple fact. The Ferrari is a timeless car, and to be fair, the FOM livery, which is the default car, actually suits this car the best because of course Ferrari has the thumb nose. So the cars that have a thumb nose, you're going to feel like, you're going to see they actually look a lot like the real thing, because those cars look really, really in place. But we then move on to another Ferrari power team, and this time it's the American outfit Haas. And as well, this one, to be fair to the naked eye, if you didn't know, you wouldn't notice the fact that it's an FOM chassis. Of course, the brand new livery this year, no more rich energy Haas and none of that crap. It's back to the white, black and red for them, and the very nice metallic details on the shark fin. And also we move on to the front end, it's got the nice details on the front wing where the black is, so it's got a kind of metallic and matte effect. And it's also got of course the Haas thumb nose, just like in real life, and all its corresponding colors. We then move on to the Papaya and blue Mclaren, and again, this is another car where if you weren't too much of an eagle-eyed viewer, you wouldn't notice the fact it's on the FOM car. Again, they've done a good job with the metallic paint, so the blue looks very, very nice. And the orange this year, of course, McLaren have changed to matte paint, so the orange this year is going to have a matte effect, and they've done a really good job again of matching that up. And again, a car that I'm sure is going to be very popular, and one that is very, very nice. And again, just to reiterate what I said before about the mission window, the same applies to alcohol. So Carlos Sainz, who of course is sponsored by Estrella Galicia, which is a beer, that sponsor would normally be on the rear wing. Instead, they've replaced that logo with a generic star, as you can see on the rear wing there. again, worth noting for those of you that keep asking about these kind of limitations in the game. And then we move on to the front end view of the McLaren, and this is where you can notice, for example, the FOM chassis gets in the way. So the cars that have a skinny nose, you're going to see this theme quite recurringly, especially, so we've got the McLaren in this case, also the Renault as well has the same feature, but you can see from the front it's got the black paint. Doesn't look the best, but again, it is where it is. It's an accommodation for now until the actual car models get finalized, which they're still doing at the moment. We then move on to the defending world champions Mercedes, and first of all, let's just talk about the chrome finish. Even on just pictures and renders, it looks really, really good. And to be fair, right, if you didn't know this was a game, you would actually believe this is like a car render that Mercedes have done of the real thing in real life, because I really couldn't tell the difference. It just looks so damn real. So really good job from the Mercedes, from the guys at Cody's, of course, with the brand new sponsor of Ineos. And you can notice that on the rear wing, on the side, and also over the engine cover on the kind of roll hoop section. As we then move to the front end view, again, the Mercedes doesn't have a thumb nose, so you can notice this quite a lot. But again, you're going to have to kind of just look past that and just accept it for now as a temporary thing. Like I said, on game release, you will get the proper nose from the Mercedes. And also looking on the inside part of the front wing, you can see the Ineos sponsoring once again. That is coloured red. The background might just throw you off, but that is also coloured in red. We then move on to Tracing Point, or 2019 Mercedes, as many people call it. But in this case, of course, you're not going to notice that because it's on the FOM chassis, so it's going to look like any other car. And again, with the brand new sponsoring this year of the BWT, they've got rid of Sport Pacer, which of course was blue, and that was a predominant part of the car last year. They've now gone back to pretty much completely pink, and BWT taking up a massive part of the car. As we then move on to the front end view, again, another car that has a skinny nose this year, but you know, accommodations have been made to kind of make it look as best as possible with the thumb version until the actual version gets released, but still the Racing Point looking very good. We then move on to Red Bull, and this is a car where, again, like Ferrari, it benefits from the thumb nose FOM car because, of course, the Red Bull has a thumb nose in real life. And in this case, you can see you wouldn't really notice that much of a difference. If you didn't notice the details of the Red Bull compared to the real life chassis version, because of the nature of the dark paint and the kind of matte finish, you wouldn't really see many differences. But the Red Bull looking fantastic as always. And from the front end view, this is what I meant about the thumb. So it doesn't look much different to the real life thing, really, unless you're really looking at it with a microscope, of course. You know, the little thumb part is in black, just like the real life thing, and all the sponsors in the right place on the Red Bull car, of course. We then move on to the French team Renault, and again, this is the updated livery from the side. It looks really, really good, just like the real thing, and big fan of this car, of course. The Renault seems to have a bit of a trend now of sticking with this livery, and because of the black, you wouldn't actually notice, again, the little details and things that are missing from the aerodynamic parts, but of course, because it is in black, it means it gets disguised very well. We then move to a front end view, and again, this is just like the McLaren. It unfortunately suffers from, because it's got a skinny nose, it's got those black parts on the side to kind of make the nose give the illusion that it's a bit skinnier than what it is. So again, from the front, maybe not as appealing just like the McLaren, but still a great looking car nonetheless, and Cody's once again doing a great job of nailing the paint and getting things spot on. And we then finally move on to the Williams team, of course, and their much improved livery. And I want to mention one thing here. So above the rocket livery on the red side pod, in real life there's a sponsor called ABK Beer. Again, it's alcohol, so that sponsor has been replaced with just another rocket logo. That might be the case in real life, maybe at certain races that they can't run alcohol sponsorship, like Abu Dhabi and Bahrain. Those two spring to mind. But again, just small details to make you guys notice and realize that tobacco and alcohol is not permitted in the F1 games. Therefore, they find ways around it. But still, the Williams is another car where it looks good on the FOM chassis. You wouldn't really notice the difference that much. And from the front end, again, there's another car that benefits from, because it's got the thumb nose anyway, it looks pretty much identical. And this car probably looks the closest out of them all because, of course, we know the Williams isn't the most aerodynamically complex car on the grid in terms of, you know, aero parts. So, yeah, this one definitely doesn't look too far off the real thing, to be honest with you. But, yeah, those are all the cars, guys, in all different angles and pictures, thanks to an email that Codemaster sent me in a high resolution. And I hope you guys do enjoy these. But that is going to be it for video number 3 here today. And that is going to wrap up all the F1 2020 content on my channel for today. If you guys enjoyed it, and if you haven't seen any of the previous videos, videos. I do urge you to go check them out. But if you enjoyed the video, guys, drop a like and subscribe if you are new for all the latest breaking news in F1 2020. I'll be covering that game, of course, as much as I possibly can. And also turn on notifications to not miss any content from me. Also, finally, check out these two videos on your screen if you have missed them. But that is it from me here today in this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one very soon. But until then, it's goodbye from me.